What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Hustle Kitchen podcast. As you can see, we're at our new setup today. Today, we have an amazing guest, Eyad Ebrahim, Mashuri mentor, businessman, working in the financial industry. We talk everything from SMEs to business to waking up at 4 in the morning. All right, so today we have Eyad in the house. Eyad, welcome to the podcast.
What's up?
Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a while. Thanks to COVID.
Thanks.
Haven't seen a lot of people or a lot of places.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're surviving.
What's going on with you, Eyad?
Well,
Where do you want to start?
where do you want to start exactly? Yeah.
Well, the last time we met, I think, was during Mashuri,
Yep.
doing the mentorship thing. And
Which my team won.
Is that every year your team wins? Like, what's going on with that?
I picked the right team and then mentor them properly, I guess.
What did your mentoring entail?
Really good question. I tried the structured mentoring route where you go through structured meetings and a lot of forums and a lot of bullshit, to be honest. And I realized that doesn't add to the experience. It adds to the amount of work required to maintain the relationship. And at some point, I've realized that my most successful mentoring relationships were friendships with people who, through experience, have become wiser than I am. And I thought that instead of me trying to be the I'm not sure this is the right term, but the father figure, the guy who's coming in with the advice and stuff, to be the friend who's been through some stuff and has information to share, and it is for you to decide what to do with that information. And that seemed to work. What worked better was me creating avenues for thought. So I would throw in a proposition, and we'd discuss that proposition, whether it was within the context of the business they're trying to establish or not, but it is a problem that needed a solution and hypothesis, and we'll talk about that. And that encouraged people to, I wouldn't say learn to think, but to think in a business way, and that seemed to work. I've mentored within the competition, the framework of the competition, and outside to people I knew and friends and stuff. And that seems to work. I'll just give you the information, do with it what you will.
Amazing.
Do you do that outside of Mashuri?
Oh, yeah.
Mashuri?
I do that to help friends, people who haven't started businesses before. And I do that as a consultant, as a business.
Okay, so people can just like hit you up on Instagram and be like, yo, man, tell me some stuff.
They will need to tell me some stuff. If the project is fun, it's something that I'm going to enjoy, and I can get some growth out of it. Yeah, for sure. It's not always about the money. The money is not that great, to be honest. But if you charge people, then you know that people are genuinely interested in your time, and they're not there to, just feel like they've done
I super agree. It's like when you have an event.
I feel like that just triggered us, you know what I mean?
If someone says, I'm going to invite 100 people for free, then like 10 people will turn up. But if you charge them all one dinner, like 90% of them will turn up. And it's that commitment they've made to your time.
I agree with that. I don't agree with the way you're pricing yourself.
No, but
But yeah, absolutely. Whatever I'm going to, it's unrealistic to charge a lot of money to somebody who's just starting a business, whether they can afford it or not. It feels like you're taking away capital that they can use elsewhere. But if there is a financial commitment, if they're not serious about benefiting from mentorship, and they just want to have a mentor or an advisory board on their website, then you know what? I'm not interested either. My time is worth more than whatever I'm going to charge you.
May I ask you something controversial on that point then?
If you're going to ask me how much I charge, then we'll have to go off the record.
Well, at least in my mind, it's controversial. I feel like both of you are going to have some strong views on this.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting what you said. If it's a new concept, you don't think it's fair to gouge them because of what they're doing. But
if it's a startup, it has nothing to do with the concept. Unfortunately, what and this is something that I'm going to get a lot of hate for. I
can't
I
wait.
call the business ecosystem in Bahrain the copy-paste engineering, because there are no new concepts. It's either somebody who saw something abroad and thought, you know what, this might work here. I think this would work. And it does in most cases. Or something that I saw him do, and I think, I can charge less and do that. And that's the worst thing that could happen. But unfortunately, this is the
Interesting.
nature of...
So
things.
let's say you're a new business and you're in Bahrain and you're like, okay, I want someone to help me do my jam. So find someone like you who's very reasonable with pricing, very fair,
I'm
very
not,
experienced.
You want to make a clear point, by the way, guys. Don't, if you're paying 1 dinar, don't come to me.
Call him. If you want to pay $1, call him.
I was talking for an event. I was talking about an event. But if you go, let's say you have to have, you're going for some money from an institution, and they say to you, actually, we need you to go to one of the big four or a company like the big four to have this business plan stamped, and they will charge, I'm not supposed to bang on the table, but then they will charge you like
an arm and a leg.
Yeah. So on that front, like, how do you feel about that kind of practice versus the value that you get for that 10, 20K?
I really love that question.
Just to clarify, when we're talking like big four, you're talking about like this big accounting sort of
EY
firms, EY and
so on and
I mean,
so
if you two want to say names.
No,
but
I mean, the big four is the big four.
Yeah.
But he's talking about audit firms.
Yeah, just so people understand what we're talking
Business
about.
consultants who charge a lot of zeros for
lot
the
of
same
zeros.
thing.
Well, it isn't. If you asked me this in 2018, my answer was, it's not worth it. Don't go for it. And it has zero value.
Got it.
But I wasn't in the finance sector. Now I know what it means. Or rather know what it means, but the value it carries. I can't speak about documents produced by other people or the quality of them, but the way, like, most people would have their business plans audited through a consultant, traditionally one of the big four, for reasons, either to attract investors or to go to a bank and say, listen, we have a solid business, we have a solid team, we have solid backing. These are our documents. They've been checked by people you trust. Please give us some money. And that has some value. Especially with institutional investors or with banks. It doesn't mean that the bank will finance you, because it's really difficult to get financing for a startup anywhere outside the US. But it carries some weight, and banks would look at your documents or your business plan, your financial model in a different light if it was stamped by one of the big four. It means that at least the numbers were vetted.
You're talking in terms of that proof, that backing, you know, when it comes to getting bank loans and stuff. I think what Omar was referring to was purely the consulting part, right?
No, I mean, it's a mix. I mean, I like what you said, but there is also the thing that always sits in the back of my mind, and this is why I was asking you, saying it was a bit controversial. Like, let's say we're talking about tech specifically now, and not just about restaurants and retail. Retail, I get it. Like, there's a lot out there that they can add value to. But tech, maybe I just haven't been meeting the right people, but I don't think there's enough that understand the business of it to be able to say almost anything to do with tech. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're not. You're not wrong. You're absolutely on the money. What the difference that it makes, or actually, this is something I've said before. If you want the business plan to be your roadmap, like for you as the entrepreneur, the person starting the business, whether it was checked or vetted by a consultant or not, means nothing, right? It's what you've put in it, right? If you want somebody to check your numbers, they will check your numbers. They'll tell you your numbers make sense or they don't. But if you're starting a business, especially in Bahrain, where there is zero market data to go by, right? What's the consultant going to add there? The consultant will tell you that you've put 1 + 1 and it was 3. We've corrected it to 2.
Yes.
Then that makes sense. If there is research market data that the consultant can check, that makes sense. Otherwise, It doesn't. So it does make sense for an investor. It does make sense for a bank. But for you, the entrepreneur, I don't think it does. I would advise that you join one of the hundreds of programs that we're very lucky to have in Bahrain.
Yes.
And they're all free. They all come with something, whether it's however big or small, but they do come with something.
You mean like the accelerator programs and stuff?
The accelerator programs, the Tamkeen programs, the stuff run by the UNDP, there's a million things. If you're serious about learning, you can learn for free, right?
Yes.
And that would do you a lot of good. Writing a business plan is not easy. I used to teach the business plan writing class for Mashru'i. A lot of people are confused. They think that I just download a template from somewhere and fill it up with numbers.
By the way, when you not to disrupt you on the business plan point, how many pages is typically a business plan that you see versus what you were teaching? Like I've seen, you know, like for example, if you wanted to learn from like BDB or something, they ask for a business plan, right? I've seen 2 pages.
Really?
From people.
That's not called a business plan. That's called a pitch deck. Right?
Pages?
Right?
I swear, I've seen 2 pages, you know.
Honestly, if somebody walks up to me and says, listen, we have project X, Y, and Z, and we'd like to give you the opportunity to invest. I don't want to go through 100 pages. Give me your pitch deck.
Yeah.
If I'm interested, then I'll ask you about projections and financial models and business models and revenue models and all of that shit. But otherwise, the number depends on how much due diligence you've done, how geeky you are about your project, and the project itself.
I'm talking about the amount of detail that basically goes into it. You know,
business plan has to
I've
be
seen
as
like just
detailed as
descriptions, but this was years ago. I think people like a lot more educated to it now because of the startup.
I think it's the approach they
ecosphere.
take. I really like what you said. You know, you as an entrepreneur have to be passionate and interested in doing your own thing. You know, you said you moved away from being very formulaic to being more of a, hey, look, this is the way I did it. Now you can choose to do that or not.
Yeah.
This is the way I did it. Now, because I often find people in that similar relationship, they're like, just either they want to do a template or like, oh, can you do it for me? I'm like, but I'm not the one who's going to be running this thing. So how am I can write one, but you're not going to be putting your passion, your vision, your mission into this plan to be able to know. If you just want to write some numbers, write any numbers you want.
What I think the problems, where the problem stems from is that people are used to, in schools and universities, wherever, at any given point of their education, they're used to being given templates to fill and then learning how to redraw that template in Excel and filling it. And it's not the right attitude, right? Like what I used to teach people is that you need to understand the business that you're trying to start, and then look at all the aspects where your money will be spent and where the money will be coming in, and then design it around that. It doesn't matter what template you use or how does it look like. What I want to see is you've put in your expenses at that, and your income is here, and your profit is that. That has to make sense. However you design it, it makes no difference whatsoever.
Yeah.
So the number one question, now that you work in the financial industry, I mean, obviously the number one question that people always ask when they're starting up their new business, whether tech or non-tech, right, is where do you get finance from?
Not from the bank.
Not from the bank.
Not from the bank. And if anyone tells you that you can or should start your business with a loan that you don't know if you can repay or not, they either don't really like you or they just want to give you the easiest answer.
I really like what you said there. Just last week, I heard a very alarming story about a Bahraini entrepreneur who took 3 loans to start a business.
Wow.
And it was a clothing shop. All right. That is so alarming that you've taken 3 personal loans from a bank.
Did it work?
I mean, take a wild
Is
guess.
he in jail?
It's not going well.
Are we protected with limited liability here as a WLL from against your personal assets?
I am not the right person
That's
to
what
answer
the
that.
WLL's for, but I don't think he did WLL, this chap.
It still, WLL doesn't mean that you are protected against your own stupidity, to be honest, right?
But you should be protected against your assets.
Yeah, so it's with limited liability.
With limited, your personal liability.
But you're still liable.
Still liable.
Right? If you owe people money, you have to pay it back.
Of course,
right?
of course.
Like even if you, now the law allows you to declare
bankruptcy
in a way that you can manage your assets in a way that will enable you to pay back that money. So you have one option: you either pay or you go behind bars.
Right? Is that how it is? So you can't just go back. So bankruptcy doesn't protect you from.
Bankruptcy protects you well, I'm not a lawyer. I can't tell you exactly how it protects you, but the way I understand it is that it gives you the legal framework through which you can reorganize your assets, sell whatever you want to sell, liquidate whatever you want to liquidate, move whatever you want to move, and start paying. Right?
Okay.
Then, within the liability framework. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not the best person to explain this, but that's what I understand. Is that you'll still have to pay, of course, right? But with the protection of the law, like you will not go to jail on day one.
Yeah.
Sounds much like the CVA in England.
It's like chapter 11 or chapter 7.
I know UK
I think
stuff,
it's
not
7,
American.
I'm not sure.
I don't know the American version. I know the British version.
Me
of
neither.
this.
I remember it from somewhere.
But I don't think you go to jail in America or
So
Europe.
in Europe, well, in England, Europe's all very different. But in England, there's a different type of set. I remember this stuff from law school, which is a dated knowledge now. But there's a creditor's voluntary agreement, which is the kind of thing that you're saying. And essentially what that does, it stops people, because let's say you are the poor soul that's fallen into this position. Yep. The mental part of this anguish and the pressure of people constantly asking is high. Mm-hmm. So if you go into a CVA, it means you've agreed with all your creditors. What's a CVA? Creditor's voluntary agreement, okay. I think. And so all your creditors come together and the way that you're saying, say, okay, look, I know I owe you all this much. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pay you this much over this many. And so you make like a payment plan. Yeah. So that way you're like, okay, I'm going to try to work my way out. But it's not even like small guys. I think like John Lewis has done CVAs and like giant companies do CVAs.
Donald Trump has had his fair share of chapter 11, chapter whatever. I mean, it's good to have that. Like if somebody is seriously in trouble for reasons beyond their control, the state or the law should be there to help them repay that debt, and in whichever way they can agree. I'm not big on people bailing out on their debt. It's bad for everyone. It's bad for the economy. It's bad for it's bad for all of that.
Yeah. So you've got to put in your. I remember when you're selling goods, retail. There's some stuff you have to put in your contract. If someone goes into a CVA or bankrupt, you need to be able to get physically access to the products as well. So let's say you're selling to a supermarket and you've got $1 million worth of goods and they've gone bankrupt. There's a chance that you won't get that stuff back.
Well, there's a 100% chance that you're not going to get that back anywhere, because it will go under. I think you should assign a liquidator. Somebody who will have
so there's
control
a way around
over your assets. But again, I mean, it's good to have. And at the end of the day, the point we were talking about is where to get funding.
That is the number one.
Massive diversion.
We've gone through bankruptcy, going to jail, bro.
Because this is actually a very important point, and a lot of people don't have answers for it. Thinking that you can get funding from the bank for a project on paper isn't going to happen. We're in the Middle East. We are not that advanced in the seed capital scene, so to speak. And it's not that difficult to convince or to sell your idea to 100 people for whatever percentage of your project. And I think more people should pursue that, because now you have more people invested in your success. You'll have more brains to, help you out, and when you need help, when you need more brains to think with you, and you will have more people promoting your idea, whether it's good or not. But they're sold on it. They've invested their assets in it, whatever the asset is, and now they want to see a return. The only way they'll see a return is if they ask their cousins and their friends to buy an ice cream from our shop, please, right? Yeah.
So you're talking about friends and family here, or you're talking about like going to
leverage your
investors and
contacts,
strangers?
whatever contacts you have. It could be your dad, it could be your neighbors, it could be whoever. If you think you have an idea worth their while and you have the ability to sell, which is something that you need to have the ability for if you want to be an entrepreneur, then go ahead.
Do you think over here or in the Middle East in general, when you go to investors, like for private equity and you're raising, you think they always take too much equity in the beginning? Like, I look at stuff in America, people are giving away like 2%, 3%, you know what I mean? Here everyone's like 40%, 30%.
80%.
For $10,000, I want 30%, you know?
You can't compare. And there they have the ecosystem is far more mature They understand what seed capital means. That's number one. Number two, it is what it is. Right? You chose to start your business in Bahrain.
Yeah.
This is how people
Yeah.
will behave in Bahrain.
Yeah.
You negotiate.
Yeah.
If you sell cheap, you sold cheap.
Yeah.
It's up to you. And I've been on both sides of the equation, right? Once I didn't know what I was doing, and I gave away
50%
the company, and then I've like, you know what? Wait, now I'm working for these guys. You know, the next
become a
time you
job
learn,
now, yeah.
right? Exactly.
Yeah, I've had people try to. I think the 70% or 80% was the highest. Someone once said, "I love this idea."
Someone asked for 80%.
80%.
Well, even on Shark Tank,
Yeah.
you know, some of the sharks offered whatever amount for 100% of the project.
And that's if they
And-
want to
and-
buy the business. That's
But
different.
still, I mean, if somebody wants to pay you for your idea,
That's
by
fine.
all means take
That's
that
fine,
money.
yeah.
Just make it worth your while, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure how you guys have experienced it, but sometimes I feel like people are trying to find the absolute cheapest way to pay everyone except for them. Like
Yeah.
You'll see them go into teams and like, okay, so you got all these experts, but you just don't believe in paying anyone else.
But that's human nature, isn't it?
I don't know, not in America. It doesn't seem in this scene.
No, it is. I mean,
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying they're out there throwing
I don't
money
like
at people.
generalizations,
Yeah.
but we can't generalize. Like there are crooks everywhere in every economy.
No, yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, it's a
but,
difference between a crook and a shark, I guess.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think it's what you were saying before. It's a comparatively junior market, and that the only way that can change is by people throwing money at if it's tech, a lot of money has to be thrown at it. If it's F&B, just a crazy amount of failures have to happen.
I mean, with,
Well, they did. And well, the point I was trying to make, the appetite for investment in non-conventional businesses now
Yeah.
in the Middle East is humongous.
Yeah.
It's huge.
At
Like,
what stage?
for example, let's talk about Calo, right? And
Yeah.
this is a project that I have not mentored. I was merely a customer.
what's his
but-
name? Ahmed
Rawi.
Ahmed Rawi, yeah.
A brilliant guy.
Yeah.
Everything he touches turns into gold. I really wish him nothing but the best. And they've just raised 13.5 million for their app
Series A or
in seed capital.
seed?
But are they
okay.
out? Do they operate outside of Bahrain
They
as well?
operate in Bahrain, Saudi.
So
And,
he
Saudi,
was
okay.
pre-seed up until
I-
now.
Yeah. And I can't talk more about their plans. You can
Yeah.
have Ahmed on the podcast. I'm sure he will reveal whatever he wants to reveal. And the point I was trying to make, that the appetite is there.
Yeah,
And people will pay big bucks if you have the right
yeah,
idea, the right project, the right platform. Like the way, and I brought Calo as an example because they did everything exactly right.
yeah,
They started with a very small project. They focused on the application itself.
the technology is great.
And the application is far better than any
Very
food
advanced,
ordering.
very
exactly.
advanced.
And then they focused on the product.
Yeah,
And their product is very good as far as diet food is concerned.
Yeah.
It's very good. And they managed to capture the right clientele who would pay a premium because their product comes with a premium.
and it's a subscription.
Yep.
So it's got consistent revenue.
Exactly. And there's a model there to be, I mean, there's a case there to be studied and understand how to get the right funding.
Yeah.
And to be honest, a lot of people ask for funding and complain about not getting funding. But their ideas are
Not worth the funding.
derivative,
Not
and
worth the
copy
funding.
paste of somebody else's, just with a different
Yeah.
name. And to be honest, any investor who's worth their while knows what's there in the market. And if they don't, they will ask, and they will see where you've, stole somebody
So-
else's
Yeah.
idea. They're not going
Yeah,
to.
and-
I would
I
like
don't-
to put it on the catch-22. Don't you think you're describing a catch-22 situation there? If you're saying, ideas that are similar, but then when ideas are very different, isn't the view that comes back often that there's nothing to compare this against? No one's
It's
ever done
preferred,
this
I
before.
think. It's preferred.
Sure.
In technology,
I don't
innovation
think
is
it's-
preferred.
I
You're
don't think it
absolutely
is.
right. But what I mean by an original idea, you should have an angle, right?
That's nice.
Like there are a million burger shops in Bahrain, right? But the ones you remember always have an angle. They have something to them. There are a million coffee shops in Bahrain. The ones everyone remembers have an angle.
Yeah.
So if you don't even have an edge, Why would anyone invest
Yeah.
in you?
So I've got an interesting edge idea for you both. I'm not going to say if this exists or not, and hopefully you haven't heard of it, and you'll tell me if you like it. I'm going to make a coffee shop, and as my topping, I'm going to put cheese.
Go for it. I'm not investing, but I wish you nothing but the best.
I'm not even trying.
So, do you think this exists?
This sounds like
I'm sure it
this
exists.
sounds like
Like, if you thought about it,
Yeah.
someone else did.
it sounds like a French onion soup with coffee instead of the
Yeah. So,
It's a Colombian onion soup.
would you try it?
No, I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't either.
So I saw this on Instagram the other day. This
So
is
someone
not
has
my
thought
idea
about it,
at all, but someone's really taken to heart, like, no, how can I innovate on this? And they've put cheese in coffee.
Good for them. I mean, look. Anything can become a trend for a short time.
Exactly.
People like to have a buzz of something, you know.
Absolutely.
But I just wanted to touch up on Ahmed. I don't know him personally, right? So obviously I've heard of the project, Calo, but he also had a track record from Malab, you know, which obviously helps him a lot because. And the reason I brought that up is because maybe that helped him raise even more. And I think one of the things in Bahrain specifically I'm talking about, because I know people raise big money in Saudi, in the UAE, in Kuwait, right? We're just the ones who don't. And I think that investor appetite is somehow linked with the fact that we don't have enough winning case studies. You know, like if someone makes it big locally, like starting local, grows local, and then a second person does, that encourages it,
I don't
right?
think it's that
But
at
that's
all.
something we talk about.
That
a
would
lot.
change the dynamic,
I don't
I
think so
think.
at all. I think you need to go, like this guy, Calo, is a perfect example. He's doing his Series A, his seed now, right?
Yeah.
But he would have spent a significant amount of money on that app because it is really good. His user experience is good. He does have some stuff. So there's money that's being spent. So he's got traction and he's got stats that he can point to. Because often you'll hear the comment, I'll invest, but like, show me a sure thing.
Yeah, and most
So,
apps.
and that's the problem here.
And this is where you hear build on success.
All right, Eyad. So I've known you, I think now it's been, I think the first time we met might have been 8 years ago or
Let's
something.
not confuse people with our ages.
Yeah, because you look quite young.
I don't. And I'm not.
No, but I mean, the first time we met was around 8 years ago or something like that. I don't remember how long ago. And then every time I met you, you were always doing something different.
Yeah.
Because we met periodically.
Yeah.
So the last time we met in Mashrouri, you know, you were running a business at that time. And I think now you're out of that business. You've exited.
I've exited that business, 2 years ago.
And now you're working in the financial industry.
I work for a bank, yes.
So the question I have is like, you know, obviously you're a serial entrepreneur,
So to
right?
speak.
Okay. You know, like you have that bug. I say, you know, people have that itch or that bug.
Yep.
How does it feel going from like the self-employed world to the employed world?
Great question. What changed for me is that now I have to report to someone.
Yeah.
And that's about it. I was brought in to start something. So I'm still in the startup mindset. We're not doing a lot of operational stuff in what I do. And I would say it's a difficult decision where you give up a lot of freedom. But it comes with its perks, right?
Yeah.
And it was a conscious decision that I wanted to take a break from being responsible for people's salaries.
And stressed out.
Yeah. And the stress didn't go away,
Yeah.
but the stress of making salaries every month is gone. And that is something that will linger in the back of your head if you're running a business, whether successful or not. And it takes years out of your age when the business is not doing very well.
Yeah. So do you feel more relaxed now?
No, but it's a different experience altogether, and I'm glad that I'm going through this experience. I don't know for how long, but for the duration of it, I'm enjoying it.
So you have full weekends now?
No,
Isn't that one of the main benefits, having full weekends and
You see these
switching off
people on the
after 6
weekends,
o'clock?
like hanging out, like,
Yeah.
oh, so you have a life. That's what it looks
And
like.
and you get a 30-day vacation every year. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
and then I mean, if you like working all the time, you will like working all the time, whether you're working for yourself or you're working for a big company. And if you like what you do, then the hours you spend extra are not very stressful, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's tiring and it takes away a lot of time from things that I would rather do. But it's fun, and I'm doing something close to heart because I'm trying to develop something for SME finance. so on and so forth. I really don't want to go into it, but it's interesting. It's close to heart. So
you're passionate about it, basically.
I wouldn't have gone in if I wasn't passionate about it, because I wouldn't have lasted 6 months.
Yeah. Has it been 6 months now?
It's been 3 years.
It's been 3 years.
Yeah. I joined the bank in 2019.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I didn't even notice. When's the last time when was that Mashrouri thing? I think COVID just took time away. Like
That was
I feel like it feels like it was last year, but then
When we were in the same Mashrouri program, the business I mentored has been operational and profitable for 3 years, Hassan.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So is that the one who won?
It's called Bahrain Sports Lab. Mohammed Saad and Abd Rasul. I'm very proud to be.
What do they do?
They basically they have a very scientific approach to sports performance. So they work with serious athletes, with clubs, national teams, and so on and so forth, as well as other serious individuals individuals who are serious about their workouts and weight loss and things of that nature. Mohammed has a very methodical, academic, scientific approach to nutrition, and he's got a master's degree in nutrition. I don't remember the name of the school that he's went to. That's one in England.
How old is he, by the way? Was he young back then?
He's a few years younger than us, but he's not. He's not a kid. Yeah, but
he wasn't a fresh graduate when he came to the program.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, close to it, but not a fresh graduate by any means. And
I like how he says that. Like close to it, but so he's pretty much a fresh graduate almost, but he's like doesn't want to reveal our age here. He's close to our age.
He's close to us.
Within 10 years or so.
Within 20 years. And it's an experience.
That's amazing.
Well, I've definitely got another.
Was it just an idea at that time, or was it already like started at that time?
No, it was an idea. Mohammed was very much into nutrition, and I think he had a few very high net worth clients at the time, and that helped him decide that I want to do this. I think I can do something good with it, and he is doing something very good with it.
I'd love it if you introduce us, because I'd love to have him on the podcast. Actually, I think he's going to have some crazy, interesting stuff.
He'd be a great guest, because he's a very good speaker and he really knows his shit.
Yeah, there's so much in that world that is just, there's so many just myths, and it'd be nice someone who's actually studied, knowledgeable, doing this with their life, to be able to ask them all the questions like, so is this true?
That's amazing. That's it's really good to hear that, by the way. So from that program to actually going to a profitable business now.
So what do you guys think about that new show that's coming out? What's it called again?
Biban.
Yeah. What do you think? You got high hopes, or are you on it?
I'm not.
Okay. Is it gonna? Oh, he's not in. It's not gonna work.
No. I think it's
looks good.
It's an interesting concept.
The ad looks good.
I haven't watched it yet. I haven't had the time.
Oh, is it live now?
No, I don't think it has come out yet. By the way,
it's on the NBC application. Yeah, Shahid.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the entire season or just one episode, but it's there now. I haven't had the time to watch it, but I know more than one person on the investors panel, and they're all serious businessmen, and I don't think they would have jumped into something that wasn't worth their time.
What's your hope for the ideas that will go on? You have high hopes?
I always have, I wish people nothing but success. And if this is successful, it's good for everyone.
Yeah, I know
what a politician answer. I love it.
I'm not. I honestly want everyone to succeed.
100%.
They won't, but
I know one of the guys who's a contestant, an entrepreneur on the show. Yeah.
What's his idea?
Actually, he has a
fantastic. Don't reveal it, man. No spoilers.
He's actually been in business for a while. Okay, he used to be in the same office building I used to be in, and his idea is fantastic. By the way,
oh really?
It's really useful. Whether from what I saw, is whether he gets the right people to sign up to it or not, because it relies on more corporates to sign up to it. Yeah. But as a platform, fantastic. So. I don't know what he's been doing for the last few years. If he's still around, good for him. I'm sure he's doing he was doing okay back then. Yeah. So and that was years ago.
How interesting.
Yeah, and I think especially obviously with COVID and everything, that would have helped his business. Because it's all online learning based.
Oh, that's awesome. Online learning is a trend now, and it's a needed trend. So it's not going to go away. It'll only grow.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, like I've been on online learning since the Linda days before it changed to whatever it's called now, LinkedIn Learning or whatever.
Exactly.
And I found like I learned so much more. Like, for example, when I was trying to learn coding, right? I learned all my coding from Linda. Sitting in a classroom, I just wouldn't learn anything. Like online learning teaches you in a much better way.
I can totally relate to that because 99% of everything I've learned over the internet.
Online, yeah, exactly. Like university, like I didn't learn much, to be honest. Well, I didn't attend much, to be honest. I mean, I passed like with flying colors, but but that was just like memorize, like day before, just flip through the book and just sit exams,
And it's there's something to be said about that. Like people used to equate a university degree with knowledge, and honestly, it isn't.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember when I was a fresh graduate, and I was an idiot, right? And I deal with a lot of fresh graduates, and their knowledge is very limited, and that's why experience is important. And today, with all the available avenues to learn stuff on your own, if people come in for an interview and they haven't had any
experience,
self-development, right? Like things that they've done on their own for themselves.
Yes.
9 out of 10 times their application is going to the shredder, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. It's I always ask people this, like, okay, if this is the thing that you say you like doing, tell me about like a passion project.
Exactly.
But everyone I've ever met doesn't have one. Have you met people who actually have them?
Yeah.
I rarely
and
meet
I like
people.
to surround myself with those people.
No, friends-wise for sure. But when you're employing, like I really struggle to find people who are doing the thing that they love.
Oh yeah,
and have
I
passion
get
projects.
In that aspect, I agree. Like people would come and people would put that on their CV, like this is my hobby. I'm like, oh yeah, fine. Tell me about your hobby. What have you learned recently? And if they say nothing, I'm like, oh yeah.
I once interviewed a guy for a writer's position, and he made up words in the interview. Like, oh yeah, tell me about you. It's like started making up words. I've never heard of that. Googling it, that's not a word.
Yeah, I think the reason online learning is so much better is because you're learning specifically what you want to learn, and it's not some generic thing that's within the falls in the course that you have to learn, that you have to sit.
And then there's the thing where if you don't like this instructor or you don't understand what they're saying, you have a million others to choose from.
Yes.
Right? You don't need to wait for the next semester.
Yes.
Just a few clicks away.
And the teaching is so, I couldn't believe like how well presented it is.
Yeah.
And it's very hands-on, so like you see something and it's like, okay, do the exercise.
Exactly.
You see something, do the exercise. So you learn practically.
Yeah. Do you want to learn how to make NFTs next week?
I mean, that's easy, right? Like, you don't really need to learn it. There's a podcaster that I listen to a lot. His name is Matt Farah. He talks about cars and stuff of that nature. And it's something that he says all the time, and it resonates with me, where young men, for the most part, would write him and ask, how can we do what you do? And he's a motoring journalist. And his reply is just, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
That's the only way to learn. And it resonates with me because that is the only way to learn. If you are waiting for a teacher to come and teach you and invest in your passion, then you're not really passionate enough about the topic.
And don't be scared to fail,
But how is it the three of us all so rigorously agree with that sentiment, but then when you meet someone who you're trying to employ, that view's just not there? Where is the disconnect?
Are they all the same? They're not, right?
All the fingers are different sizes.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not a prevalent view.
There is, I think
by any means, and it should be something that's much more common.
Trends are changing. Trends are changing.
I mean, no, it shouldn't be. You need stars and you need foot soldiers. Not everybody can be a star and a manager and entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur,
but
I want foot soldiers to employ and hire.
But even anyone you're hiring, you want them to be passionate about the thing they do.
Not necessarily.
Don't?
I mean,
you want
not
to.
Not always. I mean, it would be great if everyone was a self-starter and things of that nature. But what differentiates a good manager from a bad one? Like you will have
encouraging the team
in any team. You will have a combination of personalities. Some of them are very risk averse, and some of them are pro risk. Will take risk the whole time, and then it's you balancing them out and getting out of the.
I'll give you an example.
Outcome, right?
So with designers, one thing I love working with people who love being in design because of the stuff they do in their free time, the things they'll play with, the things they'll experiment with. And you can see a designer who's interested in design because they'll constantly share incredibly cool stuff with you. And someone who couldn't care less is like, yep, I've pressed the button, done. And it's hard to...
Design is a very specific topic because...
you have to be passionate.
Exactly. A design firm, regardless of the size, wants the best creative minds
talents,
that they can afford. But if you're running a factory and you need people in the operations side, you don't want... Obviously, you're not looking for the dumbest people to run in the lower grade jobs or the operational stuff, but they don't really need to be very passionate as long as they're not there to create problems, right? You need people to get the job done at the end of the day.
I think that's the difference. Like, obviously in the marketing agency side, obviously you're looking for the best brains around you, right? Yeah. Whereas in other jobs, like if for example, when I was working in the bank, right, in Australia, as a teller, my first job, how passionate do you want me to be about being a teller?
Counting notes, right?
Very passionate.
I love counting, man.
So I used to try to make it interesting for myself, but like to what extent, I felt like a human ATM machine.
Yeah.
You did?
Seriously, that's what you feel like 2 months in, you're like, I'm just a human ATM.
And some people thrive in those environments, right? Like some people want to do the same thing over.
They want that stability, and
the economy needs them.
Yeah, I agree. But like this lady I know, she just arrived, let's say, in a country in the Gulf, and she was complaining about the people at, like the unusual shaped baggage bit. She just arrived with a pram, so the pram went to the unusual bit. She was saying how there was 4 people there, and 3 of them were standing around and refused, even though they were supposed to be working, and refused to work. And one chap was working. When the long queue of people complained to him, said, look, it's 5 a.m, we want to go home. His response was, yeah, it's 5 a.m, and I'm working here. So like, I'm dealing with 5 a.m. too. I'm like, jeez, bro, like you can't say that to people.
You know what? I got to give kudos to the Emirates, especially in the government sector. Oh, they work professionally, I have to, I said, because, like in the Middle East, you turn to notice people less motivated because it's a secure job and all of that. You actually get great customer service over there. For the government sector in the Middle East, that's impressive. Yeah. So it's just, maybe it's the way, the management, like you said, the leadership or whatever, the expectations maybe.
Maybe. I'm not sure why it's happening that way though. And to be honest, it's
but they do,
everywhere.
But I believe they get paid well as well.
Yeah, that's besides the point, to be honest. But I see that trend happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know when was the last time you had to do any paperwork in Saudi. And I've spent a considerable amount of time in Saudi in the past 15, 20 years. And every time you go there, the improvements and the way things jump from one level to the other is just unbelievable.
Saudi's changing a lot.
It's changed. Not changed. We have to get over it. Saudi now is at the forefront of the
It's not just changed, but it keeps taking it higher and higher and higher.
And leaps. They're not taking baby steps.
Yeah,
no. Leaps.
Like I was looking at the footage from the e-karting, Formula E that was there. It looks amazing,
Yeah.
It's like every day there's some crazy new festival, some crazy new activity. Like it's rapidly evolving.
And you're only looking at surface level. If you go into the business side and actually more so on the educational side, it's unbelievable what's happening. Oh yeah.
I mean, you just look at GITEX, okay? If we're looking from a tech point of view, look at the Saudi pavilion and then look at the Bahraini pavilion, like just to compare them. And the Saudi one is huge. It's decorated amazingly. The Bahraini one just looks the same for the last 10 years. I feel like they're recycling the same materials,
With the new building.
I wouldn't know. I haven't been to
GITEX. I tell you, I went
years.
and I don't want to like obviously, ruffle feathers or anything, but the Bahraini pavilion kind of sucks. And I don't think we were there at the same time for different businesses. I don't think anyone came back and said, wow, that was a great experience. I'm coming back next year.
I heard people make a variety of complaints, including the organizers gave themselves all the awards.
That was the worst. I don't know if we can say this or not, but they have their own award ceremony for the best projects within the Bahraini group. And most of the awards went to the organizers of the pavilion for their own startups. I'm like, shouldn't you let the young guys get those awards and motivate them?
I have no comment. I hear of this.
I've heard
I can't verify your claims.
Allegedly,
Allegedly,
for a few years, this has been happening. where they
even when
award
the
themselves.
even when the sheikh came in for like the opening ceremony and stuff, our section was the only section he didn't visit. You know, he went to every other section.
Yeah, you know, you hear these stories, but like, look, a lot of people are in it for themselves, and that makes sense. You know,
Again, human nature, right?
it's human nature, like you said. You know, they're in it for themselves. They've got the ability to control the game, so they're going to control the game.
But let me ask you a question. So if you are like, for example, selling Microsoft services, you know, something basic like a big corporate level thing, or if you're a local app, like, you know, doing local delivery, why would you go to Jitex? Like, what would be the end goal there?
Word of mouth. People will remember. There is nothing bad that comes from visibility.
Yeah. Any publicity is good publicity.
Any publicity is good publicity, but visibility more so, because it's not who you know, it's who knows you, right? And for a small app that's operating locally, and if they are in Jitex, what I would think is that they're preparing themselves for, you know, expansion within the region, and then they obviously will be looking to get investment. And if people don't know you, they're not going to invest.
So really, really interesting in years to come to see someone like you run the Bahraini side of Jitex.
I'm not interested in that at all, not one bit.
Have you considered getting into anything governmental?
Yeah.
I think you should. You know, you are that. You have the brains and the know-how, and you are
feels like
very hands-on.
a natural evolution.
Yeah.
Without people like you, it's not going to go very far, bro.
You have the wrong idea, I think.
Why'd you say that?
No, I've never considered it, and it never came up, and it's not something that I've aspired to do.
You'd be a great candidate, though.
It feels like it.
I don't
You
know.
understand business, you understand technology, you understand directional.
It's a facade.
be.
It's a facade.
Well, listen, speaking of facade and self-development, you're the only person I know that wakes up before Tim Cook. You know, apparently Tim Cook wakes up at 4 a.m, you know, and that's everyone's like, oh my God, you know, it's so impressive. When does he sleep? And you wake up at 3:30.
No, I woke up at 4. 3:30 is pretentious.
How long have you been doing this for?
For a while. A couple of years at least. More than a couple of years.
Was it an intentional thing because you need
Yes.
more time in the morning? Like, what was the mindset behind
I
this?
just needed more hours of the day.
More hours of the day. Okay. And how long did it take you to adjust into that?
A couple of months.
Couple of months.
To be comfortable doing it.
Yeah. So you sleep at 9:30.
Around that, yeah.
If you end up sleeping at 11 or 12, would you still wake up at 4?
It depends on the day. Like,
Okay.
I would automatically wake up around the same time every day. And if it's a weekend, I'll just go back to sleep. I'll get a couple more hours of sleep. And then I'll go about my day. And weekdays, yeah, that's it.
You know, you inspired me to do this, right? Because I felt so bad. You know, when he's like, I wake up at 4, and I'm like, I wake up at 8. I got to change this. I need more hours in the day too, right? And I did do it, by the way. So after our conversation, took me like, I mean, the first 2 weeks were horrible. You know, I start feeling sleepy at 1 in the afternoon. You know, and then like I got adjusted to it, and started at 5, then worked back to 4:30, then 4. You know, put more activities in the morning like meditation, check emails, whatever. I want to be in touch, but by 9 o'clock, I want to be updated with everything and just do new things.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, by the way. It was the most amazing experience. But once you break the pattern for a little bit, it's like hard to get back into routine.
Oh, yeah. And you end up living the same way even when you're on vacation, you're on your annual leave, if you don't want to break it. And it's a pattern, right?
Yeah.
And if you continue on the same routine, your body will get used to it. I haven't set an alarm in many years because I'm just used to waking up around the same time every
Got the
day.
body alarm.
And it has, yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to be 4 a.m. exactly. Like if I woke up at 4:05, I wouldn't be crying. Like, I wasted 5 minutes. But as long as you gain a couple of hours in the day, yeah, it's great.
So if I called you at 4:30 and be like, let's go for coffee, like you'd be cool with that?
I wouldn't answer you on the first day.
Where would you go at 4:30?
No, just to see how comfortable he is at that time, you know?
I'm very comfortable, actually. I don't know why. And I think this is genetic because my dad is the same thing. We wake up ready to go.
Okay.
Like we don't me and him, we don't wake up and then spend 15 minutes in bed, and then it takes me another 20 minutes to get to the bathroom and stuff.
Oh, you're
Like,
fresh.
I wake up and boom, I just
Yeah.
let's go,
Really?
let's go.
I have to do 15 minutes of yoga before I
Yeah.
to wake up.
I check
Wake
it.
up and
Check
And
then
by
in,
yoga,
hang
you mean
myself.
15 minutes of looking through your
look at
phone on
Instagram.
Instagram.
I check Instagram. You know, like
That's really unhealthy to do.
Yeah.
First thing to look at Instagram. I actually do yoga.
they
That's
say.
good.
They say the best thing to do, because you know your alarm goes off. You wake up, but then you can very easily go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So they say just put your foot on the ground
Actually, when
as soon as you wake
a
up.
trick that worked for me was the first thing I do as soon as I wake up. And everything tells you go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Go back to sleep. You're tired. It's just I'd go into the bathroom, put cold water on full blast, and put your head on
Cold shower.
And no, if you're going to run, you're not taking a cold shower before, right? But wash your entire head with cold water, and you
So
cannot sleep.
aggressive. That's so aggressive. I do my morning stretches. Okay, now I've woken up comfortably. Cold water in the morning. Although, you know, recently, we know it turning to winter, waking up at 6 in the morning and it
It's
being
still
dark.
dark. It's still
It being
dark.
was weird for me.
Yeah, like
Weird
5
for me.
o'clock. It's dark.
Yeah.
It's like nighttime.
The sunrise is after 6.
Yeah, these days. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what makes it difficult.
It
You
felt
know?
like England
Actually,
again.
it's the other way around for me. It makes it awesome because by the time you're done with your
You're watching the
with your
sunrise.
work, yeah, exactly. You're having your coffee as the sun rises, and I tease one of my friends that if you don't wake up before the birds, you're not doing it right. Right?
All right. Well, we're running out of time here. Any last words you want to add, Eyad?
Yes, go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
All right. If you're listening, guys out there, just go for it. Thanks a lot for coming on the
Yeah,
You're
podcast.
welcome.
It's really nice to have you on.
It's been fun.
It's a pleasure.